Let's do a full head of extensions. I want to talk about my favorite full head pattern technique, what I like to use, and this little bald-headed shaved mannequin is going to help out. If I were to do a full head most of the time, this is my starting point. 2 wefts and a pack of strands. It's what we have on this rack here. We have 2 wefts on here, one on this half the rack, one on that side. And then on this side, we've got 1 pack of strands, which is 25 of the on-stage beaded strands. And this would be the on-stage beaded flat weft. This is my son, Brennan, and he's gonna be working on Lydia here today. If you'll notice, I don't put a cape on my models when I'm first, or even clients in the salon when I'm first doing them. He's trying to find the center of the weft, and as he starts to apply it there, he's trying to get it to work out just right. At the end, he can cut the ends off if it's a little too long, if her head is a little on the small side. If her head's a little on the large side, I want to make sure the camera can see the whole time, then we might have to add a little on the sides, and that's what these strands on the other side of the rack are for. So mostly he's trying to get centered up right now, and at some point we're going to want to drop the weft a little bit lower than the actual part so that he can pull hair through there. But right at first he kind of clips it in place, kind of snug. We use some Velcro strips from the kit to get those last bit of flyaways done. He pulled a little hair through that red loop, grabs the bead, and puts it on there. Listen guys, the beads are already on the weft when it comes. We'll get a little close up here in a minute, but I just want to show you this. The weft from this side loses all the white sticks and the red loops at some point because we're pulling them out as we use them. So the red loop is to help us get the hair through the pocket and the bead. And the beads, I don't know if you can see them, they're on there at the top of that white stick, there's a little bead right here. So when he pulls that through, the hair is coming through the pocket of the weft and the bead at the same time. Now we'll go, I'll try to work with you guys and try to get you a little closer to see what he's doing. And he's already parted off his top section also. So if you'll notice, he did a little wiggle. We talked about this the other day. When you grab that hair with the drawing tool here and pull it through that red loop, which he'll be doing here in a second, he's pulling hair through that drawing tool. And let's say this is the ring or the loop. That hair is getting pulled through like this, doubled over. So it feels a little thick coming through the ring and the pocket of hair. And as it's coming through and it finally gets like this, it's single through the pocket and the loop. So it's okay if it's a little difficult pulling through at first because you want to get as much hair as possible to support the weight. So let me go back to my favorite full head while he's working on this. And it's going to be the same thing over and over. So at some point during this process, you'll get to see a close-up of what's going on. But what's happening is, normally I'd like to use 1 single plus density weft up high, 1 double density down low, and 1 pack of strands. That's our go-to. Now, we have single plus density and double density in the strands and the weft. So from there, we decide, is her hair a little, well, we take 3 categories to decide which way we go with, if we go thicker or thinner or longer or shorter. And the first thing we do is we look at how long is your hair and how long do you want to go? Her hair is pretty long. It's pretty close to 12 to 14 inches, and we're adding 18-inch hair. So the 18-inch hair is going to add some length, and we're doing a double density at the bottom. Now she has thick hair. So we're going to go with the thick or thin, the density, after we determine length. We determine 18-inch, but now we look at her hair and it's thick. So you know what? Since it's thick, we're going with 2 double density wefts instead of 1 of each. And then with that last third category, we're going to look at head size. If her head was bigger than average, we might need more hair. We might need to get a second pack of strands, and in some cases, even put a 3rd weft in. Most of the time, 2 wefts and a pack of strands will help you out. But if they're a little on the thin side, you can do 2 single plus density wefts and a single plus density in that pack of strands. And then, of course, you can mix and match it. But on the very thick side, big head, need a lot of fullness to reach the ends of that desired length, we'll use 2 double density wefts, which we are using on her. Not that her head is large, but she has thick hair, and we wanted to make sure we had enough. We were playing it a little safe for the cutting. And then with the pack of strands, we could have went either way. We could have used single plus just to fill in around the sides a little bit, But just to be safe again, we used double density there. I think we could have used single in that pack of strands. So let's just make sure we're able to see all of this. Let me ask you a question while you're doing this. Are you going to have to add any or cut any off, or is it going to end just right on the sides?
It's gonna be pretty close. We might end up trimming it if it's a little bit too close, but it's definitely not too short.
And how do you not know right now? Does it grow or something?
No, they walk a little bit as you're putting it on because they're bunched up in a pack, so they kind of stretch out a little bit as you're putting it on there.
And one other little geometry detail, I guess, is it's lower because we need to pull hair through those red loops. And as it tightens up and snugs up, it's generally around the wider part of the head as it's going in. And as it gets pulled up to a little narrower part of the head, so it seems to grow, but it also grows because it's getting closer to the actual part as it gets pulled up. Interesting. Yeah, so what we used to do is put it where we think we wanted it, but it was a little lower than the part, and we'd secure it on one side. By the time we got all the way around to the other side, it did actually grow about an inch, and we were trying to figure out how are we going to fix this? We'll just cut it off and put it somewhere else, because you can cut these flat wefts anywhere you want, individualize them, make them 1, 2, 3 inches if you want. The hair doesn't shed. This is one of my favorite. I know I just got off on a little tangent, but this is something I'm super excited about. This is something that makes it different than every other weft out there. I split this open. There are no little short hairs here. The proper term for that is return hairs, because the hair that comes way down here has to go up into something to be secured and come back down a little, and that's how every company thought forever. They get that return hair to be joined in with the flat part of the weft, so it's up there, but it's secured in that top part, so there's no, do I need to move that back a little bit? There is no return hairs to cause tangling, itching, look silly. I mean, there's all kind of problems with return hairs, and almost every weft has that. The hand-tied wefts and the old machine-made wefts have it. We don't, which is why we can cut them anywhere also. The old machine-made wefts you can cut anywhere and customize the size, but you can't with the new hand-tied wefts, and that's what makes these that next generation weft, just the next best, better thing. It's not an eye-tip, but it uses a bead. And that was a little confusing for me at first, because when I first heard about it, I was trying to figure out how is it not an eye tip but uses a bead. The only thing coming through the bead is the client's hair. There's no eye stuck into the bead. There's no other foreign object stuck into that bead. That's why that bead can hold so well with no silicone, no threads, a flat, smooth inside. Our proprietary tool puts a little bit of an S curve in there that locks onto the hair really, really well. So we would start on one side, we'd go around, it would grow, we couldn't figure it out. It was because we were starting low, and as it snugged up to it, lost its wrinkles from the packaging. And so we actually had do a little shout out to Brad Swift over there in Texas. Brad Swift in Midland, Texas. He was one of our first guys to really take off using lots of these wefts, and probably one of the best in the country. You think he's better than you?
He probably does more than me.
So he's really been really good at it and shared a lot of the little things he's learned. And one of them was that he secured it on the sides and started in the middle in the back. And I got to give him credit. He was the first one to come to us with it, and it's really worked for us. We've all been kind of starting in the back, in the center. We still might end up having to cut a little off the sides, but at least if the head is symmetrical and we started with the center in the center, as we put it in, it worked out so much better most of the time without having to cut the ends off. So here he's just working around, getting that first row in. I'll give you a little glimpse into the future here. Yeah, I can tell the future. He already parted off his top section around there and clipped it off. It'll just make everything go a little faster. He's ready for it. We never know where the strands are going to go. Or do you have an idea where you think they might go?
Usually I'd say right by the face, but with her head shape, the wefts are coming nice and close to her face.
So we might not even use the strands at all, is what you're thinking.
Potentially.
Yeah. And you know what? It is crazy how many stylists across the country, especially, and I don't know why, if it's a geographical thing, but we sell nationwide and actually worldwide, but mostly nationwide. And we have a number of stylists in the Montana area that are they just have a really good social media. So I keep seeing Krista Kassoon puts O-Weft on so many clients. And you look at the hair, the before and afters, and you think, how did she do that with O-Weft? It's probably the double density every time. I mean, at least she's getting the most amount of hair she can in O-Weft. And it's crazy how she adds length and it looks thicker. Probably not cutting or blending much because you want to leave as much hair there, but it looks great styled, it looks great straight, and it's surprising to me. I like to have a little extra hair to cut in and blend to. So don't get me wrong, you don't have to use wefts and strands on every full head. I just find if you've got that option, why not use a little bit of both? Because the strands are going to give you a little more flexibility around the sides. They're going to be a little easier to style. And sometimes wefts, they're just in two spots. And sometimes you need a little bit more. Lydia here has a center part right now, so it's going to be pretty symmetrical on both sides. But let's say, I'm going to grab this little head real quick. Let's say you have a side part and you're going from the part. You're trying to get the hair to be a certain distance from the part for your top row of extensions. That's what you should do. Many people are trying to go symmetrical with the weft all the way around, and you have too much hair from the part to the top of that first row. You need to lift up that top row, but when you do, this is kind of what happens. This side, they're both going to be kind of close, and then by the time you get around to this side, if you're going to leave some even space between the part, the hairline, between the wefts, there's a lot of distance. So sometimes the strands can fill in between here and give a little bit more hair on the side the hair parts to, because isn't that normal? If you have a side part, more hair. It's kind of going over that way. So with Lydia here, we just grabbed what we're used to going to, 2 wefts, pack our strands, and we'll go from there. And then I realized she had that middle part and thought, you know what, we might not need the pack of strands, but we're probably going to use them today since we're trying to make this video a weft and strands video, and I just want to see kind of if there's a place to use them. But this is real world, so we're doing it as it's happening, and we'll let it all down and we'll see if she needs it. It's not too late to charge her a little less money because we didn't use all the hair. It's kind of up to you how you charge. Do you just charge for the service? Do you charge per strand, per weft? After you've paid for the hair, you do it your way. We're not going to go into prices right now. That's a whole different video. But we're going to kind of fast forward through here and see Brennan get this full head of hair done.
Woo!
You're what did that mean?
I mean, let's go.
Let's go. Some of you guys have seen his previous video. No back to the camera. Are you ready for a second one already?
Yep.
Wow, that was quick. So some of you guys might have seen his...
my 7-minute weft?
His 7 minute.
It was like 7 minutes and 8 seconds.
Wasn't it like... Don't we call it a 7 minute? And you
think
really did
under,
it like 6 minutes?
Okay, maybe that's what it is. It was.
He kept getting a little frustrated with me. We had 2 stylists, him and another stylist in the salon, each do a weft, and of course he was second, so he had a time to beat, so it made it easier to be faster. That other stylist says she could still probably beat him. But we just wanted to see how fast you could put a weft in. Anybody. The hair was already parted off. We realized that. And I mean, who knows? He could probably do it even faster than 7 minutes now, but we're going for more quality today, okay?
Yeah, definitely.
There was a speed situation in the past. We just want to see how fast it could get. And look, I folded it in half for you, so I don't know if that helps you out any.
Oh, perfect.
Because I know you like to try to find that center.
Yeah, I
fold.
fold them all in half.
Does it help?
Yeah, I just lost it though.
Yeah. So he folds it in half, pinch it a little bit. It'll show the exact center, and then he's able to
walk.
It looks like you put it right on the part to start with, huh?
To test it, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay, because that's where it's going to end up laying a little bit lower than that, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Like right there.
Just because of that scoop down, it's
And I know some of you guys are like, why don't you help him? Well, he doesn't have help in the salon, so I'm trying to not put my hands on it too much. We did a class yesterday, and similar. I said, guys, I want you to learn how to put a weft in by yourself. It's hard to have fingers all over the head and hold it in. So that's one reason why putting that bead in the center and the back helps out too. You can get it secured and then go back and fix each side because that middle will just stay. It'll hold. Now,
and you'll see me adjust the weft several times.
So you will pull that clip out and readjust.
Exactly.
Because right now it's not hanging low enough to pull hair through. So see, you got that first bead in, it's staying. It'll stay right there. he can now drop it a little bit so he has a little space below the part to be able to pull hair through the little red loops. You'll notice some of the wefts have red loops, some have green loops. There is no significance to the two colors. I wish they just used all one color. We have some control over some things, but that was one that I got voted down on. They said we need them both, but nobody can really explain why. So they're interchangeable. Some wefts will come with red, some will come with green, and then you save those because you're going to buy new beads and you're going to slip the beads back on these loops and reuse them when they come back in 4 to 6 weeks. This weft will stay in. What is your experience?
With the wefts,
different for everybody. How about roughly?
Yeah, so I'd say about 6 weeks is the most common. I do have some ladies that come every 4 weeks. I have some that can stretch it to 10 or 12. So but that's an anomaly, the 10 or 12.
Yeah, so some people are going closer to 3 months, 2.5 to 3 months.
And my specific client that does that CrossFits every day,
and
throws her hair up every day. She comes in probably, 4 times a year, I'd say.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
And some people need to do that to stretch the money out too.
True.
And let's talk about that for a second, because this is a little faster than a hand-tied weft, a lot faster than a hand-tied weft, a lot faster than even tape-ins or fusion stranded bonds or heat.
And maintenance is a lot faster.
So that's what I was going to bring up. Normally, people are asking, like, what do you charge to remove? The removal is so fast, we don't really have a removal charge. It's more of a redo, reset, service, maintenance, whatever you want to call it. I kind of like the reset name. To reset them on the head, we have a price for taking them all out and putting them back in. I hear people talk about, my client has really thick hair, so I don't need much hair in the way of extensions to lengthen it. And I say, no. Yes, you need more hair. No, you need to match what you have. If somebody has thick hair, you need a lot of hair to match it. If somebody has thin hair, you don't need as much. You need thinner hair, but they usually want thicker hair also. So when he said thick hair, it made me think about that. Here's a little cleanup situation. What happened there? What happened?
I let her hair get a little tangled, and I tried to pull it through the loop, and it just got a big old mess.
There's still one pulled through the loop.
Yeah, that one's fine, but we'll get it out and just clean up our section so that we don't make any problems in the future.
So it's neat that you can do that. You can just pick up that half all the way to where you were. Did it
I'm
again.
just going to brush out that section.
Yeah, I see that. For some reason, it's causing a little problem. I'll hold that back for you here in a minute. I'll be the assistant. Yeah, this one time. Oh, there's the tangle.
Tangle right there.
Yeah, and that's the neat thing. You can totally mess up, and just as long as you have a little jar of extra beads, redo the whole thing. It's such a fast technique to correct any of your mistakes or your misguided technique. Not a problem at all.
No, she does have a crazy calic right here. You can see all the hairs are growing that way. Yeah, and it's making my section look a little messy, but as long as whenever you're squeezing that bead, as long as you make sure you don't have any hair in between both of your hands.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me, like, which way should you pull it? The way the hair grows or natural fall?
I like to pull it in natural fall.
That's right. That's right. So some people
that was a
say...
test for me, huh?
No, it worked out good for you, but yeah, that was a test. Why do you think? Do you have an idea?
Oh, that's just the way I was taught, and I've never had issues with it.
So, right. So some people say, oh, it's growing to the left. I'm going to pull it to the left. But we're adding such new weight to the hair that gravity is going to be the new natural fall. It's going to be because I mean, the colic or the growth pattern going to the side, that's the natural pattern of the hair. But when we add this weight, it's going to pull down. So if we lock it in to the left and then it pulls down, it's gonna hurt her head a little bit. So we need to get it in the direction that gravity is gonna pull this hair. So we're getting close. So let's talk a little bit about what he's doing. I haven't really gone through the actual technique. It's hard to see these little red loops on the dark hair, but maybe you can with the close-up on camera.
Maybe that's why they have green.
Yes, right. So that's what they say. Some of the colors of the loops what would you call contrast against the hair better than others. But either way, he's trying to grab that white stick with no hair in his hand and then pull the hair through the pocket and the bead, get a good grip on it, put it at natural fall, give it a hard squeeze. I was trying to follow along and say it while he did it, but he's really, really fast. The most important thing is right towards the end, before he squeezes that bead, if you'll notice, he's turning the tool to where the hair goes through the bead in, like right there. Turn it, boom, right there. And that's when he squeezes it. He's grabbing that bead in a comfortable position, but then turning it so that it's at natural fall. It's going to be just right. You're not going to have to cut any off there either.
Yeah, you got a good size head.
And how many do you pull hair through each time before you...
I don't count. 3 or 4.
Yeah, just roughly 3 or 4. I mean, you don't do like the whole side or 10.
No, you get into too many issues
and
with
it's not
that.
2. I notice you don't do a lot. I used to do like 5 to 7, it seemed like, and yours seem to be more like 3 to 5, huh?
Yeah, and look right here, I just got a loop going through another loop. So there, I'm going to take all my hairs that I just pulled out through.
I see it.
So that's why I don't want to go too far.
I'll kind of show you what he's talking about there. When when all the loops are sticking up like this through the beaded weft, if they cross over a little, not a problem necessarily. But if one goes through the other like that and they're sitting there, then he goes to pull hair through, then you get a loop caught on a loop. He just had that happen. So you just want to kind of peek at the top of your red or green loops, we call them, and make sure they're not going through another loop like over this way. And all he did was have to pull it out. Sometimes you can rebead a loop, put it right back in there, but you clean that up really fast. You've had this to happen a few times.
Oh, yes.
And the Velcro helps a lot.
A lot.
We don't use Velcro in any other real techniques, do we?
No, it depends on the lady's hair. So on Lydia, I probably didn't need the Velcro because of how thick her hair is, because the clip does grab all of it.
And there isn't any little short frizzy,
right, there's no
hairs,
little, right, exactly, there's a section where
another little section you need a comb?
Exactly.
You're gonna give it a try?
No, I'm gonna pull these through so I can save these 2 that I already did and then fix it. Nope, we're actually gonna redo all that because mine didn't look good. I don't have you to hold it on this side.
I don't want to get into camera view.
Wait, they can see all this?
Everything. No, they probably can't because your arm's in the way right now, but he's detangling hair for those of you that have never seen that before. For some reason, that a little snag here and there will. So part of what's going on is, how do we prep this hair?
We clarified it with dishwashing liquid.
What?
Yeah. Get all those oils out.
It's our favorite. It's our favorite. I mean, the cleaner the hair is, the better. We found years ago that Dawn dishwashing detergent is one of the best clarifying shampoos. It's inexpensive also. So we're not trying to sell something. We're just trying to do a good job by getting it really clean. If they can use it on the animals after animal spills, we know it's healthy for our hair too. But it really does break down any oils, grease, and any other buildups on the hair. Now, it will make the hair sometimes a little more tangly if we don't have conditioner or detangler on there. But if we get a good brushing, maybe even flat iron the hair a little bit first to help it lay a little smoother, lay the cuticle down, that'll help. But it's not sometimes it's not the most conditioned right after a set of extensions, but we can add conditioner after. But if you think about it, where we're locking on, we don't really want any slippery surfaces. We want to be locking that bead onto just the client's hair. Not everybody cleans the hair before a beaded technique, and maybe it's not necessary. Some would argue that dirty hair would grab a little bit better, a little extra grit in that hair. Depends on what that dirty is. If that dirty is a little more on the oily side, conditioned side, it might slip. If it's a product buildup, like hairspray and sticky products, it might actually help hold. But I like to play it safe and just say, let's use a clarifying shampoo and get everything out of the hair to start with. It's just a good, I don't know, it's a good baseline, I think, to start extensions. It's a time issue, though. If you're in a hurry, the client's in a hurry, some hairdressers don't want to go through the extra time it takes to clarify and dry before they go in. Some people don't want to use the flat iron before either. I would add that into the time and the cost. I think it's a good place to start. So this is your last one, right?
Last
turn
bead.
it just a little bit. Last bead. Boom, squeezed in. Let's let all that hair down and just kind of see what it looks like.
Like that.
Yeah, so at this point, I would sometimes run a flat iron over the top just to get it all to blend, but it's looking like it blends pretty good without even doing much, huh? Let's do some strands a little bit above this so that we can come a little further forward. Let's put some right in here. Do we have a tail comb? Yeah. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. I don't think you need any Velcro here either. So we'll start two fingers behind that hairline right here.
Your fingers?
Yep, my fingers, and just put to about here.
Yeah.
We do sell these comb racks too. Everybody sees them in the videos and wonders where we got them. I invented this thing years ago when I was doing another type of extension technique. I was literally gluing combs and screwing combs to the side of a 2x4 and then screwing the 2x4 to the wall so that I could hang hair on it. And when I couldn't take the wall with me, I thought I need something a little bit more portable. So we screwed a mic stand into the bottom of a 2x4 and glued combs to it. And then I thought maybe we could make this thing look a little neater, a little more professional looking than this screwing and gluing and spray paint. So I went to a couple of machine shops in town until I finally found somebody who would make this, and it was not as fast and easy as I thought, or as cheap. So hairdressers, if you're looking for something to control your hair, I know they have other things out there similar to this, but this is a pretty good one. We're loving it. How's that going? So the single strands, how is that different?
Well, don't watch that one.
I'll reload it, and you just grab another one.
How is it different? So I find it a little bit slower, more tedious of a technique.
Yeah. Single strands are a little more expensive than the weft, gram for gram, but there's some benefits. They hide a little better in the hair, but they take a little longer to do. They're a little more expensive, so you know all the little details make it worth a little bit more, and make it style a little bit better. So it's kind of up between you and the client and what you're going to use. And so a little mix of everything. Yeah, you used a little too much hair there, huh? You can't get it to come through that bead again. So what I
just did 2 wefts, which you pull a lot more hair.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. We have 2 different sized beads. We've got one's called a mini and one's a micro. And what we do is we use the micro beads on the strands, and we need a little more hair to support the weight of a weft. So we use what we call a small bead, which is a little bit bigger than a micro. And so what I've done here is the last one he kind of messed up, and we're fixing it right on scene, right on set, is I'm putting that bead back on there because we didn't squeeze it yet. And then we'll take this red loop and just go right through the center, if I can find it here, right through the center of the hair, and put it back on there so it's ready to go. And you use that other one that you laid down here already, right? Yeah, so they're pretty easy to reset, but sometimes you're going to squeeze a bead wrong, mess up a bead. It's good to have an extra pack of beads. So when you do your first set, maybe order a little jar of mini beads or micro beads. I mean small beads or micro beads, depending on what you're doing. Make sure you have some extra beads, because if you mess up a bead and you've got to take it out, or just need another one, you're not going to have extra beads with the weft or the strands. You'll need them when you go to redo them anyway, so you might as well order them ahead of time. If you can imagine, this white stick kind of represents where the client's hair is going to end up, because the client's hair goes through this loop, and then we pull it through the ring of hair and the bead. And then your hair ends up being where that white stick is. You see, I mean, you can see the white stick a little bit, but you see that white stick's kind of invisible? That's where the client's hair is, and that's where the bead is. So the ring of hair flares out over the bead. You don't even have to have the right size, the right color. You actually can use the 2 different size beads also. Some people use the bigger beads here to grab a little more hair on a finer, thinner haired client, but we like to use the micro as often as possible. The bead gets completely concealed by the hair. The hair flares out, and that's what makes this a lot better than the eye tip also, is you don't see the eye of the eye tip and you don't see the bead. With eye tip extensions, you see that eye get stuck through the middle of the bead, and it usually sticks up a little too far and pokes in the client's head. That's really cool how the bead and no eye at all, and the bead is completely concealed by the hair. And the thing about an eye tip is the hair is squished together and real skinny, and that's why it'll kind of look stringy on a client's head. With the beaded strands, the hair flares out and looks more real because it blends with the client's hair a little bit better. A lot of advantages to this, and then of course being preloaded with beads and loops makes it so much faster and easier. Some people leave the whole pack of the strands that it comes in under their belt and just pull the hair right out of their belt, but we still kind of like the rack here, especially if we're going to mix a few different colors together. We can decide our highlight, low light pattern. That color's blending pretty well, huh?
Perfect. Oh, yeah. All right.
So how many have you put in there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8. Yep. Let's do that again on the other side. You spin her around, and let's see if you can do the same thing.
Yeah.
Do some measuring. There you go.
Going it with my left hand, everybody.
I was wondering why you look a little shaky with that part. So the thing I'm watching out here is getting into the curve of the back of the head. So it doesn't matter that he parted it so much further than I did, but we won't want to put them here because of the swirl pattern. That section on the back of the head here, I'll move this to where you can reach them a little better. So how old are you now?
I'm 24.
24. And a world famous hairdresser.
Yep.
Are you?
No, I mean, I don't know anybody that knows me.
Maybe this video.
Yes, this is the video.
Will make you world famous.
Exactly.
Right. This is the video. You don't think it was a 7-minute video?
No. This is my break.
And I noticed that when he grabs this tool to squeeze it, he grabs it kind of at about this point, which is fine because I know how hard he squeezes it. I've tested his beads before, and he gets a good hard squeeze. But I would encourage you guys, if you have a smaller, weaker hands where it gets smaller back here, you're going to get more leverage if you get further back here. Put your pinky on the very last part of it and give it a squeeze here. It's going to be a lot tighter
I was like,
squeeze.
Where's my tool?
I know, I was ready. But you even see him shake a little when he squeezes it.
My whole body shakes.
He puts a little muscle into it, and I think it's important to give a good squeeze on that bead. It's an aluminum bead, so it's not going to damage the hair. It's considered a soft metal. So it curves around the hair well. We take a lot of these out and put them back in, and there's never any breakage from the beads. The challenges we have sometimes are when somebody squeezes that bead at the wrong position and that hair's sticking out because the hairdresser holds the hair up like this, slides that bead in and gives it a squeeze, and then when that bead squeezes, that hair stays kicked up or sticking out or whatever you want to call it, and it doesn't want to lay flat. I mean, it wants to lay flat and it's trying, and it's kind of tweaking that hair in that section. The other thing is, see how you can't get the hair through that bead?
You want to test it.
You want to test it, but why?
To make sure you have enough hair. Because you want a little resistance. You want to feel it. Like you were saying earlier in the video, it doubles up. So there's going to be less hair than you feel being pulled through, and actually attached.
What's the other scenario? If on the other side of it, if you don't put enough hair, what's the problem?
You're not going to have enough hair to support the weight, and your client's going to lose hair.
Yeah. Now she has some thick, coarse hair, and she could probably hold the weight of an extension even if we went a little on the shy side. But I think hairdressers are so used to trying to do everything so little baby highlights, little like no roots when they apply color, and so everything's about being small and invisible. And I think stylists think if they put a teeny tiny bit of hair through there, it'll be more comfortable, it'll be more invisible. But the truth is, you want enough hair to support the weight of what you're doing. So
that looked like a lot, but that bead travels
on there fine.
Nice and freely.
And it's because it's doubling through there at first. You got
exactly.
That made a lot of sense yesterday.
It did.
When we talked about that. So how, you trying to do the same amount on that side?
Just, yeah, trying to stay consistent.
8 and 8, so we'll be at 16.
Yep. We'll have
17, 18,
9
19,
left
20.
to play with. You just do math.
I was doing fast math in my head and on my fingers. It wasn't actually in my head, though.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll have 9 left. Where will we put them? So what I would...
We might just save them for when these wear out. Would you do that? I mean, that could be a...
It could be an option. I'd go a little below them.
Just
go a little below that and put another
4
3
and 4?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
well, that equals 8, but...
Well, I mean, yeah, just more and more.
More and more.
Just right under it. Just part as close to it as you can.
Okay.
Yeah, because you've still got some space there. Yep, so you could put a few more in there. And you don't want to use this clip? Oh, you just use that clip.
Yeah, you just use that clip.
So I was just kind of feeling like Braille, going through the hair, and I felt the row of extensions that we put up there, and I felt, oh, there's a lot of space between that and the weft. But between the 2 wefts, hardly any space. Because my first thought was put 3 or 4 between the 2 wefts and below it. Not much room below it when I feel here. Not much room between them. But there is some room between that top row that we did. And the reason why I went up high is I wanted to go as high as we possibly could for the blend to be better in the front. And then reevaluate and say, you know what? We have space underneath that top row of strands and that next row of weft. So we could put 3 or 4 or 5 or 6.
Or 7.
9. Well, we have 9, so we don't want to go.
We'll do 5 and 4, or 4 and 4.
Well, do 4 there and 5 on the. Well, I'm thinking it's a side part. We got a middle part.
We got a middle
4 and 4, and we throw the last one up in the air, and whatever side it falls, whatever hand.
That's how it. That's the professional way.
That's the professional way to figure out what side it goes
See,
on.
I'm not gonna try
the
to
right
force
is
that
heads,
hair.
and the left is tails. You know, it's funny how hairdressers have, you know, I don't know, so many people, I should say, you got to have that even amount.
Right.
I don't think it matters if you put 1 more somewhere.
I don't think it either.
You're going to put 5 on one side and 4 on the other?
I am. Because I actually think
she's gonna walk
that
crooked.
side is
it's
a
thicker.
little thicker.
So we'll put it on the thicker side, or will you try to make that side?
Put it on the thinner side.
Okay.
I think you could go both ways with
yeah,
that.
I know. That's why I was wondering which one you would do.
I think I would put it on the thinner side.
To even her out?
Yeah, and it's not, one extension's not going to even her out.
Or make a huge difference.
Right.
Well,
So
there you go.
that's why I
Okay.
think putting it on the thinner side, since it's already a little thicker, one's not going to do much, just add it on this one.
Good. Let's get it in there.
Oh, I am.
Too much hair again?
Yeah.
You just keep pushing it, huh? I always say push the envelope and try to get enough hair.
Yeah, I guess I'd rather not have either, but I'd rather find out that I have too much hair and then be able to correct it than not put enough hair in there.
This would leave 4 for the other side if you use those last 2.
Cool. And like you saw there, if you do have too much hair, it's so easy to
just fix it.
To fix it, yeah.
Take all that out. Can you?
Somehow.
So I don't have my glasses on, so I'll let you clean that up. And it does look like she has some little baby hairs there. You might need a Velcro for also.
Yeah, she's Miss Baby Hair.
It's just in that deepest recession on each side where she's losing her hair.
Oh my goodness.
Just a joke. She's too young to be losing hair.
I hope.
You hope?
Yeah.
I think she probably hopes more than you do.
True. And we never put tools down. Carry as many as you can.
Yeah.
It's in hair school. Miss Carolyn was her name. Don't put that comb down.
Yeah, they always said that in our school too.
That's funny.
Some states don't allow you to carry pouches for your tools either.
Interesting.
They supposedly collect hair in them, and
that's why they got the zippers at the bottom.
Well, right, to let the hair out, but does anybody actually do it? 2 more, guys. 2 more and we're done. And I think after these last 2, we're going to go off camera for just a minute and just flat iron her hair and get it all flat and smooth before I do the cut. So just wanted to warn you, there'll be a little cut to here in a minute. We'll come back, put a cape on her and do a haircut in front of the camera. Here goes the last one. You want to get in? Oh no, 2 more. Okay, I see it. It blended in with the
stick. With
the stand, yeah. Second to last one. Pressure's on.
For what?
No pressure.
I don't feel any.
No pressure.
I think he would have stopped me by now if I was doing something wrong.
Yeah, that's why I'm watching so close. Not to be on camera. Looking good. Good squeeze. All right, let's at least turn her around and just show everybody where we're at for now. And then we'll give a good flat iron. And because we had it out of the kind of laying flat in a clip, that's one of the reasons why I like to kind of position my clips specifically. If you twist that hair up and clip it down, you're going to have that curly mess. It's not going to blend as well. But with this, we don't have any cut going on, and we still have a pretty decent blend, I'd say, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're going to do some flat ironing and some cutting, but I just thought I'd kind of show what it's looking like right now. You like it? That's a little movie magic. I was on set for a news channel one time, and the girl pulls all her hair forward to do to interview me, and I said, "No hair in the back?" She goes, "The cameras never see the back. Use all the hair you have in the front to make it look like you're super thick on camera, and the back doesn't matter at all." And it really does, because most people are going to have some hair here and some there. But you know, if we take the rest of what we have here and add to it, it's just so much more. You're liking it, huh?
Yeah, looks great.
All right, go flat iron. We'll see you back in a minute. Let's cut her hair now. I go through the same 5 steps when I do an extension cut. You don't always need all 5 steps. A lot of times we leave out step number 4 and 5, but I'll just go through the motions just to show you, because the first thing you look at is something not blending. She's got this new thing going on right now, the curtain bangs, that she does not want to blend into the sides. We may blend under there, but a lot of times what I would do is take these curtain bangs, before they were called curtain bangs, and blend it up more so that it would blend into everything. So I want you to know that's on purpose right up front from the start. The rest will be blended, but I always go through the 5 steps in order. And number 1 is going to be the length. We're going to cut it in the front because that's where the clients can see. They can't really see back there. They try to point, this is where I want my hair. It doesn't work out so well. So if you'll take the hair, take a finger, go straight up through the center, try to wiggle it through, wiggle it through, wiggle it through, and get it right up to about this point right here. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we get it pretty close to the center. You can see 1 weft, 2 wefts. There's some strands on the sides. We pull all that hair to the front. Let's make sure we got it in the center. That's what we're going to use to cut that length. We'll get all of this hair together in the front, and I'm going to show you a little trick. You can pull all the hair together, cut it at the same time. I can see that there's 2 different wefts going on, so we need to take off about that much to get it. You can cut it with the texturizing shears, the thinning shears. You can do some point cutting. The main thing to do is right before you start to cut is to make sure she doesn't look down. If she tries to look down at what's going on, it's going to change all the angles down here. So here I'm going to do point cutting all the way across, just to keep it natural on those ends and not look too blunt and solid. I can change my angle of my point cut to the other way to make sure I get all of those hairs. Not elevating it much, trying to keep it close to her body. And if I did them together like that, more chance they're both going to be the same, right? Right in the center, very symmetrical. Now watch what happens when we bring that around to the back. I'm going to turn her around. And what that does is it really gives a really nice, natural, rounded look. Now, if you wanted it more straight across, we could take off a little bit more here. If you wanted more of a V pattern, we could take off a little bit more here. But it gives us a symmetrical place to get started for the haircut and getting rid of length first. By getting rid of that length first in the front, she can point to what she wants in length. You can pinpoint it right there, bring it to the back, and it's going to look very natural. So the next thing to do is to blend the sides. So that would be step one. Step two is going to blend these sides. I think one side you're going to be able to see a little bit better than the other. I think my arms get in the way with the camera on one side or the other. But we're going to leave the curtain bangs intact, go a little bit below it, see where her layers start. And what happens right underneath that, we got a little snag here, is we can kind of see where the hair is layered and where it's not. See how it's not layered the rest of the way here? So I'm going to come in here, put my comb really low in my hands so that I can get in there with the cut. And let's see if I can turn a little bit this way so you can kind of see from underneath what's going on. Little teeny tiny cuts. I'm cut. I'm kind of giving you a little verbal of what's going on in case you can't see it, but I'm just really open, closing a whole bunch so that I can get a blended look across that whole front. Can you see that? And I think this is the mistake most people try to make is they start up here, and as they cut through, they tend to cut through all of this. And that's when you end up with just too short on the side. It's literally just a little cut, little teeny tiny cuts. And if you really get it, I'd hit that first, if you get gearing, like why they have little sprockets on a 10-speed bicycle and big sprockets because the pedaling at different speeds will make the bike go at different speeds. It's the same thing here. The open and closing of this, that same little open and closing here, is a big cut at the tip of the scissor. But if you open it big and that same short little movement here is a tinier movement here. It's the distance from where it pivots to your fingers to where you're cutting on the blade. So when I open it really wide and do little bitty movements, it's even tinier movements here. So it helps me make tinier cuts right through the front when I'm deep in the scissor. The problem is right here at the end, I have to let go of the hair, so I have to maybe go below my fingers for that last little bit of blending. And then here's the other problem. When I'm on the other side, I've learned the hard way that I have to watch the client's face a little bit. I mean, I haven't stabbed them in the face, but they think you're going to because I use my scissors like this. So if I go like this and I go in like this, you see she pulled back a little bit already. It does kind of look like I'm going to stab her in the eye. So look, watch what I'll do. I'll start here. It's like magic. Behind her head, go big and wide, and then bring it into here, and she never saw it. And she doesn't have any idea how big and wide. So I was wondering, why are they flinching when I'm coming in like this? But you know, it's just all about customer service. If you want to be a little more friendly, have a little more pleasant experience while you're doing the haircut, it's kind of up to you. I think some of you guys are probably going to enjoy making your clients flinch. That's up to you. But you notice the angle of the scissors kind of going down at the same time, little bitty cuts. I'm holding the hair at natural fall. The biggest problem I notice people do is they take the section, they bring it way out here, and they think it's more of a directional cut. It's not. It's all about the teeny, tiny cuts as we're going down. Right at the end, you can't hold tension on it, so you kind of have to let that last section drop on its own and go and get those last few. And they're a little harder to cut because they want to push out of the scissor, whereas I like to hold it firm and do above it, and I can get every little 1, 2, 3 hair. But then again, you see how it blends all across that front, and that's what makes it look like it's not extensions, because it's blending all through that front. Looks like I could do a tiny bit more right here. Leaving that new little trend in style to do whatever she wants with. And we might still cut that shorter later. So we did step 1, step 2. We got the length of step 1, blending the sides is 2, and then 3, let's see which way this will be better. I think it's like this. I'm going to show you a little faster way to do step 3. Some people would use a razor, and some people would use a thin and shear. I'm going to pull it out this way. It's going to be little vertical sections. And she doesn't need a lot of blending, and that's why I'm going to use a texture shear, because it'll be a lot faster. I can take a little bit bigger section, a vertical section, and as I pull it out like this, what we should see is the 2 rows of wefts in there. And that's that big length right there. But on top of the weft, I can reach my fingers down, so I'll touch the weft, grab her hair, and I can see that that is everything above the weft. And look where it ends, right there. So it's from there to the end that needs to blend. I don't need to blend above it yet, because that's going to come in step 4 and 5. If I'm seeing a line here, don't try to get rid of that line. Don't go in there and try to get rid of it. That line's going to come out in step 4 and in step 5. Just go through the process, go through the motions, no matter what you're thinking or feeling. Just go right through them. I'll take another gigantic vertical section, and look, I see it right underneath. But if you're having trouble seeing it, you can always touch the head, go down to the top, grab the extensions, and you can see it's right there. And it's only below, and I'm using that same technique where I'm just cutting some of the hairs above, on the upper, when I say above, on the above section, above the length. I don't want to go too deep into it. I'm just barely cutting with 5 or 6 of the texture teeth on the texture shear. And I'm not trying to get that line out just yet, because I know the line is coming from the hair that is above, and I'm just blending where she has extensions that are one solid length right now, and that's not going to blend well. It's going to show a little line of demarcation unless she curls her hair every single day. And I want it to look natural even when she steps out of a pool, the shower, gets rained on, and we'll come all the way around to the side here and get 2 more sections. It's looking a lot better on the side because we added those strands, and so that makes it a lot easier to blend. Those strands came up a lot higher on the side, so there's not as much to blend right there. So let's do it to the other side now. We started in the middle where it was the thickest. We're going to go a little off the side of the middle here and do it again. And you can kind of see it. It was right here. This is the safe way with the texturizing scissor shear. I know a lot of Americans like to call our tool shears, and in Europe they like to call them scissors. They say shears you shear sheep with. So I don't know. When I call them scissors, people think I don't know what I'm talking about, because I'm definitely not European. When I say shears, I'm thinking the Europeans aren't liking that word. I don't know which word to use. It's definitely not my sew-in scissors. I think that's probably the more important thing, is I'm using the right tool. Who cares what we call it? And what is the right tool? We could be using a machete, an axe, fire. You've seen the YouTube videos, right? A little silly, but I think anything that gets rid of the hair you need to get rid of is fine and works. So here we're starting to encounter some of the extension hair, which is a little higher up, and this is where those strands really made a difference. So I don't want to thin too much, because on the sides of the head we've got the ears to contend with. And I say ears meaning we don't have as much hair on the side of the head. In the back I'd still have all of this extra hair underneath this section, but because of ears we end up having less hair on the sides of the head, and you want to be conscious of that and not cut too much off. Blending pretty good. All right, so we've got the top all the way around. Maybe we could have did more. You could go through and do more if you wanted, but I think you'll see that even in step 4 and 5, it's going to show how we can get rid of some of that. So next we're going to take some vertical sections, big vertical sections, and pick them up. So 4 and 5 now deals with ends. One of them deals with the ends of the client's hair. One deals with the ends, well, I'm sorry, the extension hair. And the other one deals with the ends of the client's hair. Is that where the line is? We'll get rid of it in a minute. We're going to do both of these with texturizing scissors or shears. I'm going to take a vertical section here. It can be a pretty big section actually, but it goes all of the way through. We grab this whole vertical section, and as I pull this vertical section out like this, you can start to see where all the extensions are. The client's hairs right here, client's hairs here, extensions are in the middle. How do we make all of that blend? Well, that last technique should have blended it over the top a little bit as far as these layers, and you can kind of see it, but it kind of all collapses. So what I have found is you get it combed vertically, collapse that whole section from top to bottom into what fits just in between here to here in my fingers. I'll collapse it all the way till I get it to here, pull it out, pull it out, pull it out, and then turn it. And as I turn it, I can see that the top was blending pretty good. We did that with that last technique, but this is a little blunt. And if I try to thin the ends down here till they look good, I'll start thinning this too much, which I want to keep. And all I really needed to do was texturize this thick section just a little bit more to make it look natural. These are the things that show in a ponytail when you have these random blunt spots. That's where it comes from. It's not going to happen now. And I can kind of tweak right over the top of those layers where it would be later. And I'm doing this in much bigger sections, pretty much just 3 in the back and then 1 on each side. So I'm going to take this section. We've got 1 more in the back after this. Get it combed out vertically. Collapse it. Get it out like this and turn it. Now as I turn it, I might blend a tiny bit more, which is going into that step 2 that we did earlier. But I don't want to collapse that too much with too much texturizing. Just a little bit on that bottom weft where it was a little thick. And then we'll do it again on this side. Maybe I'll stay over here for this one. So to turn it sideways, I'll double check what I did over the top. A little bit of blending. Just get that very bottom section. And I say bottom because if it was like this, it would be the bottom. But when we turn it this way, I can see it just a little bit more. That looks good. All right, so we have 2 more to do, the sides. And it can be very big sections now because we're working so close down to the end. Brush it out vertical, comb it out vertically, keeping the top section on top, the bottom on the bottom. Top looks pretty good. Just a little thick right here in the middle actually. That front's pretty good because we blended the front in that step 2 technique. The top is blended because of the strands on top and the technique that we did over the top with step 3, I think it was. So we just had a little bit in the center to get there, and that looks good. So let's do that one more time on this side. Get this whole side. I don't know why I walked around. We needed it to be here. Big vertical section. I'm looking at that top as I'm combing. It's blending really well. Turn it sideways so it doesn't collapse on me. It's all looking pretty good across that top. One little chop there, a little bit here. A little on the back side, but very little. I just want it to look really natural there, and I think it does. So that was step 4. 1 more step, and that's going to be the top. I'm going to feel all the same vertical section, but a stop at the top row of extensions, because that's where that line's coming from down there. That line is either the top of this section or the bottom. I'm not sure yet. I can kind of test it by kind of going down like this and seeing where is it, and it looks like it's more the bottom. Since it's the bottom, I'll hold it up here, and I only cut or texturize the bottom section there. because that's what needs to blend a little bit better. If you needed to get the top, you could also. And again, just 3 in the back and 1 on each side of this. Actually, there'll be none on the side because of the strands stop right there. And I think they got that side taken care of pretty well. But this is the important part here, is to go all the way down to the extension. And you can see it right there. So I'm getting all of the hair above the extension because the extension covers everything else. There's no problem with a blend line there, right? Because that top weft covers everything. If there's a problem, it's in this hair. So this is the last thing I do, is look at this hair and try to figure out, where is that problem? It's kind of in the middle. It's kind of just all of it. And it's not a big problem, but slight bit of seeing it. If I kind of feather edge this and really wisp it out, when it falls over this right here, it just kind of disappears right into her hair. So I'm going to do one more over here. I'm feeling for the top of those strands, getting behind the strands, and getting this section here going all the way down to the weft. So I thought, a little tangled here. We sprayed a little product when we were doing the flat iron, and I think I'm picking up a couple strands I want to leave down also. There we go. Pretty good. I think most people wouldn't have done anything here, but I wanted to make sure I went through all 5 steps. The sides look amazing. We saw that in some of the other steps. I think we're good. Let me turn her all the way around so we can see. Yes, now we could go through with a curling iron or a wand. By this point, it's been a few hours for both of us. A lot of times they're ready to just go, get out with their flat, smooth hair. But I want to at least see her in her normal clothes. Get rid of this. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to just kind of spin you slowly so we can all kind of see all the way around. And I'm going to just put a little bit of hair here on the sides also. I don't know. I want to see all the hair on one side and then the other, I think. And we'll just kind of look at that all the way around. And then let's do that again on the other side, just to kind of, so if you'll turn the head to the side a little bit, look what it does here. If somebody puts their head straight forward, see how it collapses that and makes it skinny? But if you turn their head, it takes this big wide section and spreads it across the front of their body here, so it can make their hair look, and if you have them look down just a little bit, then look what it'll do. It gives you more fullness all the way across here. And I'm just gonna kind of turn her all the way around so we can see that. Yeah, that's pretty. And then I don't know if there's any other angles really to just kind of see everything, how it's falling. Maybe a ponytail, because I think sometimes people will put their hair in a ponytail and they'll say it looks fake because there's a little spot here and there. I used to do this as one of my finished cuts. I'd put the hair in a ponytail and look for little blunt areas, but because they would be down in here somewhere. But I don't have that anymore because of the 4th and 5th step that I do. I think it gets rid of it. There's no bad. I know I'm really freaking the cameraman out, just getting all over the place here. We got all kind of camera angles getting in there, but it just blends so well everywhere, huh? I think I just like hair too much. I might like it more than she does. It blends really, really well. And I'm gonna say that's a wrap, guys. Thanks for watching.